welcome Dr. Srikumar Rao. He is one of the world's most renowned experts in happiness. He's called the happiness guru, and it's such a pleasure and such an honor having you here. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Stefan. Actually, I must say the pleasure is all mine.
It's really a pleasure to see you and to talk to you, because I watched many videos of you, and the topic of your work is quite fascinating. What you teach people is how to become happy. By the way, becoming happy, is this a part of the problem already?
Yes, if I may elaborate, Stefan. In the West, generally, we talk about happiness in a very cavalier fashion, and we think things make us happy. You know, I had a wonderful dinner, I'm happy. I met a new girlfriend or boyfriend, and life is fine, I am happy. But actually, that's just a thrill of pleasure. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about I want people to experience an extremely deep feeling of well being, the feeling that I am okay. And it's not just I am okay. I have always been okay, and I always will be okay. I cannot not be okay. We're in the human condition, Stefan, and as long as we're in the human condition, stuff will happen. There will be serious illness and death. There will be financial problems. There will be career setbacks. There will be relationship issues. All of that is part of being in the human condition. As and when these arise, we will deal with them as appropriate, but we will deal with them from the space of I am okay, I have always been okay, I cannot not be okay. So it's a very deep rooted sense of well being. That is what I would like everybody on this program to understand and hopefully be anchored in.
Thank you for these wonderful opening thoughts. You have this little exercise in your seminars and in your classes. When you ask people, what do you need to be happy? Please tell us about these when they write down and have to find all the things that make them happy. You kind of trick them to the wrong path, right?
Yes, I want them to recognize for themselves what an error they make. And I used to particularly do this when I was teaching at top business schools, and I've taught at many of the top business schools in the world. I would say, what do you have to get to be happy? And a ton of stuff would come on the board: trophy spouse, vast wealth, planes, mansions, yachts, relaxing leisure, good friends, things of that nature. And I point out that, first of all, the exact concatenation of circumstances that they want doesn't exist. But even if it did exist and they were plugged into it, it would probably not take more than a few weeks before they were back to being the same sorry, miserable selves as they were. And the reason for that is anything you get, you can unget, correct? You get vast wealth, stock market downturn, whatever, vast wealth can go. You have good health, you get hit by a truck and become a paraplegic or a quadriplegic. So whatever you can get, you can unget. So is that something worth striving for? And my thesis is there's nothing that you have to do or get or be in order to be happy. We have this notion that I have to get something so I can do something, so I can be something. So I have to get a lot of money so I can go on exotic vacations and I can be happy. I have to be in a relationship so I can have great sex so I can be happy. I have to get something, do something, be. And I'm saying that's not true at all. Everything that you need to be happy is with you right now. Your inherent nature is happiness. There's nothing you have to do, get, or be. And of course, the question I always get back is, if happiness is my inherent nature, how come I'm not experiencing my inherent nature? How come I'm experiencing, oh, this life is full of problems and tension? And the short answer to that, Stefan, is we have spent our entire lives learning to be unhappy. And the way we learn to be unhappy is by expecting that I need to get something so I can do something so I can be happy. And this is a model, and it's false, it's broken. And I can prove to you it's broken, Stefan. Can you imagine sometime in your life when you contemplated a scene of extreme beauty, maybe a snow-covered mountain, the sea, and it took you outside of yourself to a place of great calm and serenity? Can you remember such an instance?
Yeah, many, many, many. I love instances like that.
Why at that instance did you have that feeling of great peace and calm? It is because you accepted the universe exactly as it was. You didn't say, that's a beautiful valley, but that tree in the foreground has too many crooked branches, and you give me a chainsaw in 20 minutes and I'll fix it. You didn't say that's a beautiful rainbow, but it's way off to one side. Let me move it 200 yards and it'll be better. The crooked tree was perfect where it was. The off-center rainbow was fantastic. And the moment you accepted the universe exactly as it was, you didn't have to do anything to experience the happiness that was inherent in you. It came bubbling out.
It's fascinating. Most of these moments I experience in nature. When I travel, when I'm camping, when I'm doing hiking, and I see these little scenes which are wonderful. And then even something, well, a tree, it can be a tree, it can be a river or something. I think, wow,
Whatever.
let's stay here and just look and enjoy. Why is it so difficult to implement that into our daily lives?
Because we haven't tried, because nobody has ever told us that that is the real secret of happiness. I'm suggesting to you that your life, just as it is, your life with all of the problems you have, your life with all of the problems you think you have, is every bit as perfect. But you are striving with might and main to change one or more aspects of it, and not change it because it's your path in life, but change it because if you change it, then you will be happy. The if then model, it doesn't work.
If I get this, then I will be happy. If I reach my new career goal, if I finish school, if I have my
Whatever.
car or whatever. So isn't what you tell, isn't it just the opposite model of what we learn in the Western world? Reach goals, want more, be hungry, want to be not want to become somebody, but want to be somebody, and and just being focused on bigger goals. Never, it's never enough.
Never enough. That we are doing a grave disservice to all of that. Mind you, Stefan, and this is very important. People ask me, haven't I realized that all of the great achievements of mankind have been because people were dissatisfied with the lot? We have the vaccine for polio because Jonas Salk did not accept it, and all of the great inventions and progress we've made, technological and otherwise, came because of that. And the short answer is yes, but it is possible to get that without this huge burden of anxiety and happiness we're carrying. And the way out of that, Stefan, is as follows. By all means, set a great goal for yourself. Get up in the morning, visualize your goal, but do it from a place of happiness because that is your path in life. This is your path in life. Not you have to get it in order to be happy, but you're doing it because everybody does something and this is what you're doing. But you're happy as you start doing it, you're happy while you're doing it, and you're happy whether or not you succeed doing it. It has no effect at all on your equanimity or well-being. This is a learnable skill. You have to practice it, but it's very much learnable. Nobody is teaching it, though. That's our problem as a society, as a species.
Mhm. If you confront people the first time with this totally different model of happiness, I wonder how many people say, "Okay, but I don't know. What should I do right now? I don't know. What can I do without my goals, without this outer structure in life?" And so they need to look back to themselves and feel themselves and be themselves. This is quite tough sometimes, isn't it?
It is very tough. To answer your question, Stefan, I never spring this on someone I don't know well. Typically, before I start revealing this, persons have been studying with me for a while, so they have some understanding of my philosophy and where I'm coming from. And I say my philosophy, but this isn't something I invented. This is from the greatest masters of all time. I've simply borrowed their concepts and adapted them so that they're more acceptable to intelligent people in the post-industrial society. So I want to stress, nothing is mine. I am just a translator.
I can imagine that sometimes you experience funny situations. I mean, you're taught in business schools. You have a scientific background. You are a physicist, and many people you got in touch with in your life, I think they would find this approach a bit strange or difficult.
Which is why I have a wonderful solution for that, Stefan. I tell them, don't believe anything I say. Every model I'm going to share with you is false. So don't bother asking, is it true or false? Because I'm telling you up front, it's false. But equally, all of the models you hold are equally false, only you've never examined them. So let's do this. Why don't you stop asking whether what I say is true or false? But why don't you just go and try what I am saying in your life and see if it works for you now? And if it does, then you accept it. And if it doesn't, throw it out. Don't believe me, try it out. And that's how I have, top business school full of hard-headed people who don't like all of this woo-woo nonsense. And that's why I have, in such settings, people who go from being skeptical to believers to some become evangelists because it works. It works for them in their life now. So they don't have to believe me anymore. They have their own experience. And that's what I ask them to do. Don't believe me. Don't believe that guy. You are both the laboratory and the experimenter. You try it in your life and you tell me whether it works for you. Nobody argues with that.
What I really liked when I watched your videos, you're talking about this model of an inner self dialogue, an inner blah, blah, blah. We tell ourselves stories all day long, from morning to evening. And this affects us, the way we think, the way we experience the world. It's funny because I work with a similar model. In Germany, we call it an innerer Schweinehund for all the Germans here. It's like an inner pig dog. It's the inner voice that tells you, do it tomorrow, you're too stupid, you're too old, you're too, whatever. And it often keeps us back from achieving or from being who we are.
Yes, completely. In fact, you put it mildly, it's not just something that bothers us, it's something that destroys us because we don't live in a real world, Stefan. We live in an artificial world which we construct with this inner chatter we have and our mental models. We never live in a real world. We always live in a construct. We all live in the matrix.
I love that part too because I love the movie The Matrix, where
yes,
I think everybody should have seen it at least once or 5 times.
Yes.
I watched it with my 9-year-old son a few weeks back, and it was very. Wow, it was very cool to watch it with your son and talking about it afterwards, that life is kind of similar, that we all create our own lives, our world or vision or view of the world.
Correct. That's one of the things I always state in my programs. We do not live in a real world. We live in a matrix. Only this is not a matrix constructed by an alien civilization out to enslave us. This is something that we constructed with our mental chatter and our mental models. It's not real.
Srikumar, let's move to a different spectrum of all these thoughts. I was working in psychiatry. I'm a medical doctor, and let's talk about things like depression, personality disorder, serious crisis in life. When people really suffer from bad experiences and they have difficulties in changing their moods. If we talk about it like that, of course, for a normal, healthy, psychologically healthy person, it's easy to move out of these states if you open up your mind to some new ideas. What would you tell people who are really, really suffering in the suffering itself?
That's a very good question, Stefan, and let me share something with you. First of all, unlike you, I'm not a medical professional. I am not claiming to give medical advice. But my belief is that depression is nothing but mental chatter which has gone off the rails for so long that it's taken you to a hole where you cannot get out of it. In one of my students was actually the chairman of the department of psychiatry at a major hospital. And after he took my program, he emailed me about a year later saying, Professor Rao, we had a group of patients whom we had basically given up on. They were not responding to treatment. We just said, okay, if we can manage their condition and not make it any worse, we're in good shape. Out of curiosity, I tried some of the CPM exercises, that's the exercises in my course, on them, and they responded very positively, and some of them are actually making improvement. So here it is. It depends, of course, upon whether the person is capable of some cognitive effort. And we get them to see all of depression, Stefan, comes from this. The world should be a certain way. But the world is paying no attention to the way in which I would like it to be. It's going its own way, and whatever I want is being completely ignored. So I'm going to react to it by being withdrawn, by being sullen, by being unhappy, and that's how I'm going to react to it. And that eventually leads to full-blown depression. Whereas if we can get these persons, even for a little while, to not think of themselves, but to think of others, the world outside, expose them to great scenic beauty. And a wonderful thing, as I'm sure you know, is introduce them to pets, particularly dogs. They're very, very, very gifted at getting people to come out of depression. So each time something like that happens, if you think, see, you were temporarily happy and you can be that again. And I think that if you do that consistently, it is possible to get a lot of people on their way out of depression. They spend many years digging themselves into that hole. So it may take a while, but I think it will work. On a personal note, I have had many students who told me, Dr. Rao, I've been in therapy for years, but after taking your program, I no longer go to a therapist. I don't need it anymore.
So it's a learning. It's kind of a programming ourselves. What we train, we can learn, we can achieve, and we can be. It's very logical, and of course, it's a kind of an intellectual approach.
And I want to say something, Stefan. You mentioned programming. Our entire life is being a programming exercise. What I do in my course is I let people recognize that they have been programmed and program themselves in a way they want to be programmed, as apart from letting the world do it from somebody else's program.
And this is a very, very good point, because it leads to my next question, in fact, because what you tell people is not like just be in the moment and be happy, but you also tell people to give themselves, to dedicate themselves to something they really enjoy. And it's not being here in the moment, it's still achieving, it's still the way you focus on. It's not being here and accepting everything, but it's accepting that you are moving forward in life to somewhere, and in this moment, you can enjoy whatever you do.
Exactly correct. In this moment, you enjoy whatever you do, and all your actions are directed towards what you think will help you achieve your goal. And that is fantastic. The difference is you don't believe that if I achieve my goal, I will be happy, or I will be happier. If I achieve my goal, I'm happy. If I don't achieve my goal, I'm happy. It has no difference on my well-being. And the funny thing, Stefan, is when you take that attitude, the probability you will get to your goal goes up dramatically.
So what you do is you focus on the process. You say everything in life is a process, and you are here, you want to go in this direction. You do not focus on the goal. You focus on the way to your goal, and you
Exactly.
achieve, and you learn, and you experience. You say life is a journey, and the more journeys we take, the more we live.
Exactly correct. Life is a journey, and the journey is the only thing you have. The goal, the destination is a mirage. You go there, you're there a few minutes, and then you're off someplace else. People talk about, I want to climb Mount Everest. How much time do you spend on Mount Everest? A few minutes to a half hour max. You get up there, your buddy takes a picture of you, your buddy gets up there, you take a picture of him, and then you're on your way down, and you hope you don't get killed in an avalanche. So if you're going to climb Mount Everest, you better enjoy the weeks and months of acclimatization on base camp 1, base camp 2, and all the rest of that. Same thing in life. Enjoy the journey. Whether you get to the destination or not really doesn't matter, because the journey is the only thing you have.
It's interesting because what you tell people is, yes, it's okay to be on a mission. We are always on a mission, but make yourself not dependent from the goal if you achieve what you expected, because if result is different than what you wanted, you will suffer.
Exactly. And my thing is, whatever the result is fine. Maybe it's a result that you don't want. So if you don't want to say, okay, this happened, this is not the result I wanted, what do I do now? And you start another journey. And again, you may get your result or you may not get the result. It doesn't matter. It's a game. Enjoy the game.
Okay, so let's free ourselves from our personal games. What would you tell people who are definitely stuck in kind of the wrong game because they have the wrong programs, the wrong mindset, the wrong structures? Sometimes you take people out of one setting, you put them into the next setting, and suddenly they live up and say, "Wow, I didn't see that everything was okay, but I was in the wrong area in my life." How can you help people to find their correct area in lives?
That's a tough question, Stefan, because some people are ready to examine and some people are not. When I do this, explain what I just explained to you, some people get really angry. Oh, this guy, he's misleading people. He's, full of S. And they get really angry. And I wondered why that was so. And then I came to realize that if you even begin to accept what I say and try it out, you have to acknowledge what I have been doing for my entire life is just flat out wrong. And some people are too scared to go there. So it's much easier to shoot the messenger than to go on a process of self-reflection. So I'm very careful in terms of who I share this with.
So your approach is to, well, just let's see how this person reacts to what I say, and if the person is open, you can go deeper into the stuff.
Yes.
And if the person closes down, what do you tell them?
If the person closes down, I wish them well. I am an elite coach, Stefan. I coach persons who want to do great things in the universe and persons who are very successful and also have a spiritual bent. And one of the things I always check is, is he ready to engage with the topics? Does he have an open mind? Doesn't have to believe anything, but is he open-minded enough to say, this guy has a lot of credentials. Let me try what he has to say. And if they are, I take them. But if they don't have that openness, I don't take them on as clients. You have to be ready to understand what I am doing is not working very well. So let me try this and see what happens. Don't have to believe it, but have to try it sincerely.
Wow, and this is how your huge successes in life and in all your program can show that the method you found out helps many people to find their special way. So if people let me stay in this point, is there some way, some shortcut, some way how I can convince people which are obviously stuck and they want help, but they don't want to watch being stuck, or they don't want to have any tips from outside? Is there any way I can give them a tip or a hint or a clue and say, that's the way out? Or do you say, no, completely not?
One thing that you can do, Stefan, and it's very important, is to ask them Socratic questioning. You don't tell them anything. If somebody is stuck, you don't tell them, hey, listen, it's your own fault you're stuck, you're seeing it. But I'll give you an example. Someone says, I'm in a dead-end job. I hate what I do. My boss is absolutely terrible, and he does all of these things. And you listen sympathetically. And you don't say your boss is terrible, because that anchors him in the feeling the boss is terrible. You may say the boss did a terrible thing. That's not the same thing as the boss is terrible. And then you ask him, have there been any instances at all where your boss behaved like a decent human being? And then you shut up. But if he engages with the question, recognize what you've done. You've made a 180-degree turn in his thinking, because from ranting about how terrible his boss is, he's now looking for examples where his boss behaved like a decent human being. So your job is to engage with the person at the level that that person is, he or she, and see if you can ask questions which will get them to start thinking differently. I got fired. This is terrible, tragedy. My life is ruined. Hey, it's so bad you got fired. But can you think of any way in which perhaps being fired was a wonderful thing to happen? Is it possible? And then you shut up. But if he engages with that, he's moved from the realm of despair to the realm of possibility. And then you push him along. What can you do proactively now to make it a good thing? And you've seamlessly, and that's how I teach people to be resilient. They never suffer adversity because they never label anything that happens to them as adversity. This happened. What do I do now?
So it's wonderful. It was a pleasure having you here, and I could chat with you for hours. Maybe we can repeat that some time. And there were so many great ideas, so many great thoughts. I'm really, really thankful for having you here. You have 20 seconds left. Is there any message you want to share with the community?
Yes, I want you to get up every morning and be radiantly alive. That's it. Be radiantly alive today. Each day is your life in miniature. You're born when you wake up, you die when you go to bed. Make the most of it.
Wow. Thank you, Srikumar. It was a pleasure having you here.